drive. Welcome to episode 13 of The Drive. Can you guys believe we're on episode 13?
Lucky 13.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling you this morning why I like 13 so much. My aunts and my dad were both born on the 13th.
And it was her aunt who was on the show.
Yeah.
So
With
how cool
Aunt
is
Brenda.
that?
Yeah. So, we are super stoked about this. Sorry. Oops.
It's okay.
This one, if you guys saw my video yesterday, I think it's a little ridiculous how excited I am about this.
No, I think it's awesome because I'm just as excited, and I thought until this morning it was just me.
I've been dying to ask you why you're so excited about it, because I kind of asked myself that question yesterday. I'm like, why? Like, I'm giddy. So why do you feel so
I don't
excited?
know. I feel like this is the one that most everybody seems like most excited about. I feel like I think we always touch people and people are always affected by our topics. But this one, with it being like focused on the holidays and just knowing that those are some really, really tough times emotionally. And to know that we can be helping some people in a major way.
Yeah.
Talk about something that we usually don't think to talk about. So
So mine is a little more selfish. Well, not necessarily selfish, but just that it's because this is what helped me. When I started identifying all of this stuff,
right.
This is what helped me pull out of that functional depression. So I'm like, if we can help, so I guess it's not selfish. If we can help someone in that way find peace the way we have, and again, it's not like we're always super zen, but
definitely not.
No. But we know how to get back to it. So,
exactly. And it's easier now that we know this stuff than it was before. So.
Yeah, so welcome to The Drive. And this is Brenda Colter.
I am.
Managing partner.
Oh, yeah.
SYLC Consulting and Her Beautiful Mind.
Yes. And this is Kat Hoyer, the other managing partner. And managing partner, Her Beautiful Mind.
We'll talk about that later.
We will. We're us.
Yes. So welcome. We're super duper duper stoked about this. So we're going to be talking about emotions and emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And all that fun stuff, which is really what our training is that we do. It's how to develop emotional intelligence and stress management and all those fun things that we all deal with.
So moving into the holiday season, we kind of just wanted to do a really deep dive. You look like a ghost. We wanted to do a really deep dive into exactly what emotional intelligence is, and we just want to help everyone understand exactly what it will mean once you're more aware of your emotions and why most of us are not really aware.
It also doubles as a bib.
Oh yeah, I should probably wear scarves more often because I spill stuff on myself all the time. I'm really awful at it.
I'm sorry, you were
it's okay.
About the emotional intelligence thing.
So yesterday I thought it was really cool. Like you guys know, we really don't talk about these before. So this morning I was kind of watching Kat's video from yesterday and realized that the definition of emotional intelligence is kind of what we want to tackle to start out. And with each emotion that we go through each week of this series, well, you'll kind of notice that there is a process. We're kind of teaching you an actual process and giving you tools to work through each emotion that we're talking about. So we have 2 this week that we're going to start with. What are the 2 for this week?
So the 2 we're going to start with is discomfort, because really that's sort of, and I think we should probably say too, we took a poll in our group. So if you're not a part of the Stereo Life group, feel free to ask to join and we'll put you in the group.
Right.
We don't have a ton of activity in there right now other than like talking about content for this for the most part. But that's what we did, and we got a lot of responses in terms of what people were looking for. So we have a total, this whole series is going to be, as of right now, it may evolve.
I'm glad you said as of right now.
We have 10 different, right? So it's going to be 5 weeks?
So far, right now.
So today we're going to be doing discomfort and anxiety.
Yes.
So discomfort was one that, really a lot of these emotions that we're going to be talking about.
Right. Kind of comes from.
It comes from some type of discomfort. So kind of knowing what that is and what that feels like. And this is really, I don't know, we didn't really talk about that. Well, we haven't talked about much of this, but, I want to make sure that people don't necessarily, or work to not label emotions as good or bad.
Right.
there are some, at least for me, that I feel good or I don't feel great and I want to steer it. I want to change how I feel.
Right.
So, but emotions really are an indicator to tell us.
It's kind of like they say pain. Like when I remember like a science teacher, or maybe it was another, I don't know. Anyway, a teacher
talking about the science guy.
It probably was talking about how pain is an indication that you need to stop doing something. So I think it's the same with discomfort. If you put your hand on a hot stove, you're causing physical damage, but that pain is to tell you, hey, stop causing this physical damage to yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the same with discomfort. Like, what's this weird feeling that I'm feeling and why do I need to change it?
Yeah. So did you already read the...
I didn't.
Oh, okay. So you knew what I was going to say.
I did. Were you going to say definition?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I knew what you were going to say.
See?
So, first and foremost, we just want to go over the exact definition of emotional intelligence, because that can be a little bit confusing for some people. So, emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. That was a mouthful.
Yeah. So maybe we'll write that in the...
We will. We'll put that in the comments.
Yeah, maybe just a post, too. I think it might be a nice little post.
Oh, yeah.
On
the drive page?
On the drive page.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, to me, when I looked that up yesterday, because I'm like, what is it? Like, sometimes you hear it, it's kind of a buzzword.
Right.
And I didn't embrace it at first, and now I do.
And now you do.
Because it is what we're doing, and it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. But, yeah, so
in getting into this, we kind of wanted to go through, and when I looked at the definition this morning, like I said, it was Kat's video. I watched it like 100 million times, because I'm like, there's something here, but I couldn't figure out what it was.
So I really only had 2 views?
You have bunches. The video was awesome. I love it.
It was fun.
And it's like, it looks fun. That's why I like it.
It was really fun. And yeah, I'm not going to... Okay, go ahead.
So when I looked at the definition and looked it up, and I thought about like the capacity to be aware of. So I'm like, that's step 1. It's kind of giving you steps. So to be aware of, then once you're aware, you can control. Like, this is steer. Once you're aware, you can control it. And once you control it, then you can productively express it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I express emotions all the time, but it's not always a productive expression.
Oh, see, and I wasn't even thinking about, like, how to express it. Because for me, the emotions are all just for me.
No,
but it's not. They're how to express them to other people. That's true. That's true. So
because that goes into the handling interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically, because sometimes when these emotions get in the way, judicious and empathy goes out the window.
Yeah.
So so that's why we kind of wanted to break it down in this way. So remember the awareness, control, and expressing. And if you know steer, then you know that is awareness.
It's oh my gosh, why did we both blank on that? That is terrible.
What's it?
No, I'm sorry. It is awareness, analysis, and management.
There you go.
Thought awareness, thought analysis, and thought management. So yeah,
how did we do that? We both had a complete brain. Anyway, then you'll know that that's that. So what we want to talk about first is what makes it. I kind of was been talking a lot, because I know that Kat is going to kill this part. I wanted you to kind of go into what makes it so hard to identify our emotions and why we're often incorrect when we identify them. Were you not ready for that question?
No, I was not ready for that question.
You looked like, you want me to talk about?
Yeah, so that's interesting, because we did exchange a couple notes, and I was like, I wonder what she's going to talk about.
Oh, you want me to? Oh, yeah, because that was mine.
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't. I'm not exactly sure. So
you kind of taught me.
All right, let's talk through it, because I think what makes it so hard is the discomfort. So I think because we avoid it.
Right. Once you feel like uncomfortable about however you're feeling, you kind of go, oh no, I'm not supposed to feel like that, or this is an odd feeling that I don't want to experience. And I think we don't dig any further. So we kind of avoid it.
Yeah. So we avoid it. We do things like to not feel it. We do things like drink, eat.
Eat.
Well, no, like, I mean, there are vices that we have to numb.
Oh, yeah.
Play games. Like, that was one of the things I realized I was doing. This was a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but a few years ago. I was like, what am I doing that's numbing? I was part of a group that we were talking about. And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm pretty good, I think, because everything I do, for the most part, I'm giving myself permission to do it.
Right.
So if I have a Netflix binge, I don't feel guilty about it anymore because I've given myself permission to do it. And that's something we'll talk about later on. But I'm like, no, I don't think I do anything that's like numbing or avoiding or any of that. And I'm like, sometimes I help people to avoid. At that point, I was helping people to avoid my own stuff.
Wow. So it was like you kind of a little bit selfish. Like I do want to help you, but for me to help you, I don't have to worry about what I have going on. Ooh.
Yeah. That was a huge aha for me to be like, wow, I'm actually avoiding my own stuff by just digging into other people's stuff and helping them, which was good. Now, I'm not saying that helping people is bad, you know, or sometimes, especially when you get advanced in this stuff, you really can like put some of this stuff on a shelf for a minute and be like, you know what? I know these are my feelings. I know these are my emotions. I know these are my thoughts. I know how I'm executing on this. I'm going to shelve it for a minute and come back and visit it.
Right.
Especially, you know, I don't know about you, but for me, like when I do that with certain things, when I need to process something, as long as I kind of tell my brain, you know, hey, we're working on this. Right. It could happen as I'm sleeping. It could happen as I'm meditating. It could happen as I'm cleaning, driving. Right. You know, and then I'm like, oh, okay, now I feel better about it. So
I think for me, I had to be careful of that because I realized that I was using my reflective time, my reflection. I was using that as a means of avoidance. Like I would tell people, I need to think about this. I need to reflect on this, and then I'll come back to you and talk about it. And it would turn into rumination, and I would just go over it and over it and over it, never address it, but kind of just run myself crazy, thinking about it. And that became a vice for me because I was never really expressing. I would just use it as an excuse to put off the conversation and hope that they forgot to go back to it when it was time to talk about it. So I think all of that is a way that we avoid identifying what the actual emotion is so that then we can work to do something to actually make a change.
And you know what we talk about this a lot in Steer 101. Something to remember is that an emotion is just a vibration in your body and it cannot hurt you. It feels like it can.
That's the discomfort.
It feels like it can hurt you, but it really can't. And one of the things we do that we'll talk about is just sit with that emotion and kind of allow it, which is a little bit of dialectical behavioral therapy.
Because I think something happens when you sit there and you're in pain or you're frustrated or you're feeling whatever you're feeling and you just sit with it and go, okay, this is, and you kind of taught me where am I feeling this in my body? Okay, my neck is sore. Okay, I'm tense. Let me breathe. Let me whatever. And then once you realize, okay, this is just a feeling. This will not hurt me. Now let me productively work through whatever it is that I need to work through to.
So, and we do that in 2 minutes. That's something we do in 2 minutes. That
call it taking two.
And we do take two for a ton of different things.
Oh, yeah.
But just sitting quietly for 2 minutes and just feeling that feeling, it is incredible what will happen in that 2 minutes.
Something in your video about something about breaking something that was kind of like
take a beat.
Take a beat.
Yeah.
And I thought about practice the pause.
When I said it, I was like, did I use that right? And I looked it up. It's in the Urban Dictionary.
Yes, you used it right. And then when you said take a beat, I thought about taking two and also practicing the pause. Like I always tell people, using that pause, using that 2 minutes to process.
Yeah.
Or feel. Yeah. So that you can process.
Yeah. So I think we talked about why is it so hard what makes it so hard to identify them? Because we often avoid.
Right.
And we don't know what we're thinking. We don't know exactly what that emotion is. So when we take some time to name it, it is so helpful.
That's why naming it is very important.
Yeah.
So that's why this series is all about naming specific emotions.
And if there's something that you want us to do, We'll put our number on there, but we have our number that you can text us. But yeah,
you can just say hi if you want to.
You can text us and be like, hey, and we'll be like, hey, who's this? New phone, who this? That's
new
what we'll
phone,
say.
who this? That's
all right. So do we want to jump into discomfort?
Yes.
And so the first thing we want to do is how to be aware of it. How are you aware if you have some discomfort?
Well, now I know where I feel it in my body. I feel it in my gut when I'm. Okay. I can't really describe it, but it's a different kind of a feeling that I get in my stomach where I feel like something's wrong, and I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. So for me, there's a physical manifestation when I'm not.
Yep, and I usually get like a tightness in my chest, not like I'm having a heart attack kind of thing, but just kind of a tightness in my not like an anxiety attack or anything like that. But
who said good morning?
Good morning.
Charles said good morning. Good morning. Both of you. So yeah, I think the first thing to do, and again, this was kind of what we went through, is figuring out where you physically feel your discomfort. And I feel my physical discomfort now before it even triggers that there's something going on in my mind, because now I'll go, oh my God, okay, so I got this feeling in my stomach, and then I'll go, oh,
yeah,
that made me feel away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that as you develop that awareness by paying attention to what you're feeling when you're emotional, we're just going to say emotional because there's such a range of emotions that we're going to be talking about, but when you're feeling emotional, working to identify how that manifests physically helped me.
Yeah. So, and then what is discomfort trying to tell us?
Do something. No.
Well, I think for me, discomfort's telling me that, I'm kind of a power steer so much that it's a little bit easier for me. So discomfort will quickly change into excitement because it means that I'm about to do something that I haven't done before, or I'm pushing my limits a little bit, and I get excited about that now.
That's a good way to steer it. Because for me, I
was like,
it's so funny. We're not going to go into this yet, but my discomfort almost triggers anxiety. It used to trigger anxiety.
Okay.
But now I still get that initial rush of, uh-oh. So if I could describe a feeling that I get when I get that stomach feeling, I go, uh-oh, what's wrong? And I have to do that pause. I have to take two in that moment and figure out. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, just that. And this is what I need to do. Right. So I do still have that. And I think that's kind of neural pathways, kind of my brain for so long. Yeah. I went, uh-oh, when I was uncomfortable, but I still do that.
Yeah. So it's really what we can learn when we feel discomfort is really that we're about to challenge ourselves in some way.
Yes.
We're about to maybe, kind of expand or grow, or, we're doing something out of the norm. That's why we feel discomfort. I agree. And I think that it's very hard to think about it in that sense. I don't want to come across as insensitive. Thank you. Sorry.
I just got done yesterday.
I know I hadn't seen it. Very pretty.
I don't want to come across as insensitive, like, you're just feeling that because you're about to grow. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Oh, no. Yeah,
but,
you know what? You're right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But because that's hard. You kind of go, okay, I mean, that's real easy to say, and it is, but that's why taking the time to practice the pause, to take two, to breathe, to figure out exactly what's going on, and to acknowledge that I'm sure if you look back over the instances in your life when you felt that feeling of discomfort or experienced that growth or change, once you came out on the other side, it was like, whew, that's what that was about. Yeah. That growing, stretching.
So that's a really good point. So what about, I'm going to get choked up. I don't know if you saw the post that I shared with Lisa Bechtel.
Yep.
But, so that's discomfort. For me, I said on the post, I hope you want to look away from this and you don't. That's a discomfort that is going to challenge you a little bit.
Right.
But let's speak to that. What if you're in a situation where you're feeling discomfort and it is, I mean, I don't want to specifically talk about domestic violence, but let's just go there. What if it's something like that? I mean, what is that emotion telling you at that point? That's not necessarily growth.
No, I think that's
Womp womp. Sorry, I'm Debbie Downer.
Right.
No, but I think this is...
I think that, at that point, there's definitely more that you have to do besides practicing the pause and doing all of that stuff. That's more of a deep dive into why am I in this place and what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah. Oh, but
like,
see,
that's
I'm
way
really
deeper.
I want to be careful to, like, so when I hear why, it's similar to should for me. Why is is a blaming thing. Not that I think that you're doing that.
Right,
but just,
right.
like, so, you know, what happened that I'm in this situation?
Or, like I said, or what is this trying to teach me? Because I know with my own domestic violence situation, now that I look back on it, I always go back to the poems from this girl I've been listening to, and she said, you left scars on my body that will never allow me to forget what love isn't.
Oh, wow.
In that moment, I was learning what love is not, because I didn't know what love was.
Right.
So I think exploring exactly, again, what is this trying to teach me? What am I, what should I be learning here? And I think once we learn those lessons, the universe kind of pulls those situations out of our lives. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go real woo-woo, but I think that once you learn the lesson, it becomes a lot easier to take action.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. So to ask the question, what am I, so really that's what, with almost every one of these emotions, we're going to ask the question, what am I supposed to be learning here?
Yeah, and I write it down. I know I say this every show. I know I do. And I'm a writer, so I know I write all kinds, but you can use your phone, you can use your voice notes, you can do anything. But for some reason, for me to see on that paper, to write down whatever it is and to go, what is this trying to teach me? It gives me a deductive process that I can kind of go through and be like, well, it ain't this, it ain't that, it is this, it is that, and it helps me to work through it in my mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was, you know, it isn't all rainbows and sunshine and, ooh, we're gonna grow, you know, there are
and I think that's what people think when we talk about growing and everything happens for a reason, and all of that's true, but it doesn't help until you know.
No, Brenda Brown talks about like the messy middle, you know, and that's something that I think, you know, when you're in the messy middle, it just sucks. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It just sucks. And at least for me, even in the messy middle now, I know there's a lesson in it. I know that I'm going to come out on the other side stronger, better, wiser. I don't know exactly what it will be, but I will have learned whatever lesson it is.
Right.
But the one thing I want to say about asking that question, about asking the question of what am I supposed to learn here? What can I learn here?
I like that better. I like what can I learn here better than what am I supposed to learn.
Oh yeah, that's true. This car needs to move so I can get over. So what I don't experience.
What'd you do?
Well, I don't even know. I don't know why I made that face. I don't know.
I'm like, what happened? There were no cars.
Nothing even happened. I don't know why I made that face. I probably was thinking something that, what the heck was I thinking? Okay, so the reason I like that exercise is what it will do.
Oh yeah.
Let's
get to brain science. I knew that's where you were going.
What it will do is get you out of your amygdala, and your amygdala is the part of your brain that's like, what the fight, flight, or freeze, like, I can't think, I'm in the middle of it. So when you ask that question, what can I learn? I do like that. What can I learn? What can I learn from this? It will put you into the part of your brain that's much more logical, that's going to slow down.
Problem solving. You go into problem solving mode instead of distress mode. You come out of distress and into problem solving.
Yes. Yeah.
It's something there.
Yeah. I pity did you see that?
No.
The sign says, I pity the ghoul who drinks and drives. I pity the ghoul
that's
who drinks
hilarious.
and drives.
I pity the ghoul. Okay.
That is awesome. I love that.
So yeah, like anything else on discomfort that you're like, I gotta say this.
No, I think that's it, and I'm glad, because initially my thought was just about that I'm going to grow and I'm going to that, but you know what? There are people who are in really, really uncomfortable situations that
sometimes you can't see that far in front of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And understanding that it's a step-by-step process. That's another thing. Once you do deduce whatever it is that you want to do about this situation, it's okay to have an ultimate goal and to work slowly towards that goal. Of course, if you're in a situation to where you're in any kind of danger, call someone, do something as soon as you can.
Yeah.
But to write out some steps that you need to take. This is my ultimate goal. These are the things that I need to do in order to get there. So that's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it is helpful to talk with someone about it. I mean, we do that with each other. Sometimes I just talk out loud. I really do. I talk to myself. I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
They say that's crazy.
I know, but I don't know who they are, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with being a little cray-cray sometimes.
But I just did that to you yesterday. Like, I sent her a text, and I was like, Kat's the only person I can send a text to and then say, I just wanted to say that out loud, and she doesn't judge me. But I sent her a text, like, I don't know what you can do about this, but I just need to get it out.
Yeah.
Say it, and then she was like, we can steer it. I was like, we can, but I reserve the right to just allow it at any given time.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, that's fine.
Which I thought was really good, because sometimes, like we've said before, sometimes I don't want to steer. I want to sit in whatever it is I'm feeling, and not even in a healthy way. Sometimes I want to sit in being mad. Sometimes I want to sit in being sad, or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And it's more allowing it, I think. And you know what? Emotions, it's okay to feel them. It's okay to feel angry and mad and sad and all those different things. Just what is it trying to tell us, and not getting stuck there. That's the biggest part, is not getting stuck.
Who says she does it all the time? What do we say? Does what? Because she's laughing, so it's probably something not good.
Yeah, so I think that's it on discomfort, is just
yes.
Yeah, what am I trying to learn from it, and knowing that it's
and that it's just a moment. It's just a moment in time, and you can work your way past it.
Yeah.
So, anxiety.
Yes.
Listen. Anxiety is something that is still my personal struggle. It's less of a struggle now.
I was going to say, really? And then I'm like, no, I guess I do know that.
And for me, I think it's because I'm so aware, and I know the symptoms of my anxiety. I know when this is more than just anticipation. I know when I know like this has the potential to become anxiety, and it can become full-on obsessive, and I gotta be careful about that. So it's still actually a struggle for me. How about you? Do you not struggle with it at all anymore?
Oh no, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain situations, and I'm kind of, look at those trees. You guys, if you are in Ohio right now, what are we on? 271. This is so pretty. It would be prettier if the sun was out, but it's just so pretty.
Pooh said she calls me to talk and not steer, just sound like a crazy lady and get stuff off my chest.
And I think venting is like, it can be productive. Making sure, like for me, I want to make sure that when I'm venting, I'm not keeping that energy alive, that I really am releasing it.
Right, that it's like flushing. And that's and I think I was just gonna ask, what do you think happened? Why did people start saying that it's not okay to vent? Because I think we didn't realize, just think about it, a vent lets stuff out. It lets the heat out or the air out, and it releases it.
I think for me, I don't know who, I'm not sure who says it's not okay, but maybe it was me that said it, because
I don't know. I just remember hearing it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as long as you are releasing it. But what I realized I was doing with venting, two things. One was I noticed myself doing it. The other thing was I noticed what someone else was doing when they were venting. So for me, I was keeping the energy alive. Mm-hmm. I was like not, I would venting. I would vent about the same thing over and over and over again.
Okay.
So that's not venting. That's complaining.
That is
hanging on to it and keeping the energy alive. So the thing that I noticed in this other person, she'd come in my office and say, I just need to vent. And really what she was doing was gossiping.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not really venting, that's really gossiping. And I don't want to take a part.
And my thing is in owning, if that's what you're doing. Like, if you want to gossip, then just own it, because...
And
people gossip sometimes. There are some times that even where I'm like, I'm totally gossiping right now. And I think it's just understanding your relationships with people and people who understand and kind of know you. So,
well, and I think for me, there's a specific situation that I have quote unquote gossiped about twice recently, and I'm like, you know what? This is gossip, but I know it, and I'm saying it, and
I'm cool with it.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna say it because it was. I wanted the other person to know, you know what, when I look at it at the end of the day, it was to validate my own experience. Someone had screwed me over, they screwed someone else over, and this, it was somebody who had mutually screwed us all over, and I was telling about that.
Oh, okay. I was confused.
But so for me, I was validating.
Like, see, that was the good, that was the right thing
she
to
is
do.
that way, yeah.
Right. So... This went way left.
Yeah, sorry.
But that was a good sidebar.
It was a good sidebar.
But just to get back into anxiety,
I don't gossip though. I don't want it to sound like I gossip all the time. Very specific.
I think women. We're women, and that's an excuse. But I think we use that excuse sometimes. Like, I'm a woman. I gossip sometimes, but I think it's hard to find that fine line when you want to. Let's say if I'm talking to you and something happens and I want to tell you what happened and it's really none of my business, am I wrong to be like, so let me tell you? Is that wrong? Is that gossiping?
I'm sorry. I was
coming soon to the drive. We're going to talk about gossiping after we're done with this.
I wasn't even listening because look at that in front of us. It almost looks like Colorado.
It does.
Looks like a little mountain up there.
I can't do this with you.
I'm sorry. I love the trees.
Back to anxiety.
Okay, back to anxiety. Thank you.
I'm getting anxiety because you won't get to anxiety.
Okay. All right. So how do I feel anxiety? Like, how do I identify it? For me, it is to, I feel in my stomach and my chest, probably all over my body, my neck, everywhere. I kind of feel everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I feel it more in my shoulders. When it's anxiety, I feel it's like a heat. It's like almost like somebody pouring hot water on my head, and I can feel it come down to my shoulders and my arms. It's really weird. So
what do you think anxiety is telling us? What can we learn from it?
To stay here, because usually, I mean, of course, this is me. Oh my God, what's gonna happen when I have to go next week and do this, and you know what I'm saying? Usually it's something, or oh my God, this situation happened and it's reminiscent of that past situation, so is this gonna happen in the future? So to be here now.
Yeah, so to be present,
right?
To know, and I think to ask, like, because you're doing one of two things: either worried about the future, or replaying the past. Right. So
as it pertains to the future. Because replaying the past, that's more depression, right?
Yeah, but I think it can. Once
it goes into rumination and you start obsessing about it, I think that's when it gives that anxiety feeling. You know what I mean?
So it's, to me, when I look back at a time that I kept, like, I would just ruminate on situations or a specific situation in the past. The reason I would get anxiety from it was because I wished that it was different. And there's, like, as Dr. Phil says, not even God can change the past. Right. So that was one of the things of just accepting that it happened. That's, another topic. But
that is.
So going into the, like, that's why I would get anxiety from thinking about the past, because it was like, oh, I wish this person hadn't done this, or I wish that I had said this, or I wish that, you know what I mean? Like, wishing that it was different. Right. So my favorite quote is Brenda Brown's husband, Steve Brown. No, Steve Brown is my favorite HR.
Yeah, okay.
I want to say Allen, and that's not it. It's not Steve Allen. Anyway, Brenda Brown's husband, Steve, said that I want to believe that people are doing their best, and that way I can focus on what is instead of what should or could be. Right. And I translate that as well into a situation. I let every situation be what it is instead of what it could or should be.
Ooh, I like that.
Now, I don't always do that, but when I do, I find peace.
I think for me, when my anxiety is manifested from something of the past, there's just a similarity. Not wishing that other situation would have been different. I'll get a little bit personal. I recently just entered into a new relationship.
That's what I've been getting about these last few weeks. Sorry. Those were our inside jokes. Yay, she said it. Sorry. Oh no.
I can't. Okay. This is awful. I'm like a teenager. Anyway, so I recently got into a new relationship, and it's the issues from my relationships from the past that cause anxiety for this relationship. What he's doing right now looks like what he did before. It doesn't even have to be the same. If it looks anything similar or akin. Last night I sent him like a text message that I promised to Jesus. It was like this long, and he sent me back, "What's really wrong?" And I started crying.
I love that.
And I was like, nothing that I just said in any of that message was what was really, you know what I mean?
And that's
it was my
true.
Anxiety that had kicked in because of a previous interaction that I had. So for me, it's understanding that this situation is this situation, and it's not that previous relationship. It's not that previous person, and having to remind myself of that.
And at the end of the day, our brain is always trying to protect us.
Right.
So your brain is like, whoa, wait a minute. This feels like something that happened before that was bad.
Yes.
So you should, and it's, so that will cause anxiety. So
and that's really, being in the amygdala. And like you said, kind of slowing it down and going, you know what? This is not that. It's not even the same situation. It's not the same instance. It looks a little bit like that. And there's a way to express yourself that is...
But isn't it great to have people in your life that you can, like, sort of go off the rails a little bit, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on?
Right. That gets you, that understands you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to, try to find those kinds of people. And to our life coach. They always are.
Or that, yes. That's important.
Or a therapist.
So like you said, we're stuck in the past, so we want to be present, or living in fear of the future. And if you haven't, we actually had a whole episode about fear. I can't remember which one it was, but
it was pretty early. I think it's like 2 or 3.
I think so too. So we definitely won't dig as much into fear here as we did before. But if you do want to know a little bit more about the fear of success or the fear of failure and all of that good stuff, just go back and watch that episode, or check us out on YouTube. Subscribe.
Like and subscribe. So worried about the future. So I love quotes, and another one that's really stuck with me is that worry is just a misuse of your imagination. So worry is like imagining everything going wrong, or how it could go wrong. So if you're going to use your imagination, why not imagine it going right?
Right.
Why not imagine things, kind of...
And that's a whole better energy to put out into the universe, because, I mean, let's face it, if you're steadily worried about things going wrong, you're creating that energy for things around you to go wrong. Yeah. But if you use your imagination properly and you imagine that they're going right, then there's more of a chance that things are going to go right. So.
I love that. And again, in this, that's where that take 2, that pause, all that stuff makes it helpful, because you can go, oh, this is what I'm thinking. So if you steer any of these, so you guys, I hopefully know by now that steer is situation, thought, emotion, execution, result. So if you have a situation, that's going to stay the same on both sides. We've got the thought about it, and sometimes it's hard to you really have to sit with it to figure out what the heck am I thinking right now? What are my thoughts about this? And sometimes you have to name the emotion first, like I'm feeling anxiety, so what's going on? Sort of like what he helped you do yesterday. Right. You were having those feelings, and the execution was the big long text with whatever you were saying. Right. And the result could have been, if it was somebody who didn't understand, it could have been like, well, screw you, I'm not going to listen to all this. But instead, it was like, what are you really thinking? Right. And it made me restart the model. It made me start at the beginning of the model. Yeah, it made you steer it. So you had to go, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Right. And and then you can create another emotion. Or, you know, if you want the emotion of whatever you want your emotion to be, what do I need to think to have that emotion?
Right. So that's the basis of even this whole series, is making sure that as you steer, when you're naming this emotion, that you're naming the proper emotion. And a lot of this derived from conversations that we have about anger, which of course we'll come to a lot later, and me realizing that myself and a lot of the people around me who it's my little sister.
Not to call any names or not to mention any names or anything.
But specifically, by my experience, black women in general, I think that's where the myth of the angry black woman comes from, because a lot of our emotions are manifested in anger. It's way easier for me to say I'm mad at you than to say you hurt me. That requires a vulnerability that most of us are not comfortable with expressing. So I think we have to be in understanding that you're not angry. I mean, you might be. There is anger. But making sure that you're naming the emotion properly. So that's why we kind of wanted to give you these tools to identify discomfort, anxiety, and as we go on, the different emotions that you might feel, so that you can name them and everything isn't, I'm pissed off.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about, I know this is going long, but man, I could talk about this for hours. But
Oh, little Bambi!
And not little Bambi, he had
That's
a rat.
his mama. That was Bambi's daddy.
No, that was daddy. That's Bambi's daddy. Sorry, I'm a farm girl. I look for the rack and how many points. It was about a 6 point.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
How did you see that? That's hilarious.
You look for it.
That's so funny.
But one of the things that we can, and maybe we'll talk about it next week at the beginning, because if you've stuck with us this long, thank you. But everything, all emotions come back to fear and love.
Right.
So these emotions that we're going to be discussing are often fear-based. And you know, I love the quote, anger is just fear's bodyguard.
Yes.
Anger is, don't hurt me and I'm going to stop you before you do, or whatever. But it's really that it all comes back to fear.
Yeah, Charles said, I truly believe that anger is always a secondary emotion. Yeah, there's always something that's underlying it. So the key is, and what this series is going to help most people do, is to figure out how to name that primary emotion, because I like that word, secondary.
Yeah.
To figure out that primary emotion.
Ooh, this is so good. I love it so much.
I can do this all day. We need help. It's not normal. These are really our conversations. Like, this is what happens.
It is.
So good.
Yeah, and then we usually get to the end of it and like, oh, we should have recorded that. Sorry.
So I want to see, I don't remember what next week. We'll post what next week's 2 emotions are that we're going to go over. Is it?
Yeah, I don't
know at all. So next week we'll do 2 more emotions. This week it was discomfort and anxiety. We went over the definition of emotional intelligence, which is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. And we are kind of walking you through that definition with each of these emotions. And I don't know, looking forward to doing this every week. I'm so excited to do this with you guys. So.
Me too.
Is that it?
Yeah,
is that a wrap?
I think so. Ooh, that went a long time, but
it did. That's a wrap. This was a long episode. I don't know if all of these on emotions are going to go this long.
Well, I think we had to explain some things at the beginning, so hopefully it won't be quite that.
Oh, wait. We got a comment. 3 forms of fear. 1, that I'm going to lose what I have. 2, that I'm not going to get what I want. 3, that they are not going to say when they... Wait, what are they going to say when they find out?
Ooh.
That's Charles. That's so good.
He's great at that stuff.
Wow. I'm going to say that again. There are 3 forms of fear. 1, that I'm going to lose what I have. 2, that I'm not going to get what I want. 3, what are they going to say when they find out?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so good.
That's awesome. I could talk forever more about
we
that.
Did one episode just on that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like we said, if you stuck with us this far, thank you very much. We'll be back next week with 2 different emotions. If you have any questions about SEER and the process, just hit us up. Let us know. You can shoot us a text, which we will put in the
And I can say it's 860-792-6224.
That's what it is.
860-792. It's 860-79-COACH.
Oh yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. If you have any ideas on topics, let us know. And also if you have some emotions that you want us to go over, just let us know. And thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all next Saturday at 9 a.m. Have a good day.